Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Today we're continuing on our reading of Second Ezra, or Third Esdras. Sorry, Second Esdras or Third Ezra, as it's known. My apologies. And we are currently on chapter 5. It says, "After this were the principal men of the families chosen according to their tribes, to go up with their wives and sons and daughters, with their manservants and maidservants and their cattle. And Darius sent them 1,000 horsemen, till they had brought them back to Jerusalem safely, and with musical instruments, tabrets, and flutes. And all their brethren played, and he made them go up together with them. And these are the names of the men which went up, according to their families, among their tribes, after their several heads." Now, before we read that real quick, if you recall, this is reminiscent of when Dawid was bringing the Ark of the Covenant up to the dwelling place where they played music and they celebrated, and they're coming in after it was taken and it was separated from the people for a while, and then it was brought over, and it was not in a dwelling place where it's supposed to have been. If you remember, it was with Eli and his sons, but they were doing evil. The Philistines came in and they had had it for a while. Each place they took it while it was dwelling with them. They were plagued. Their idols were broken. There was problems until they acknowledged where it came from, made appropriation, and sent it the Ark of the Covenant back. So just for context, there, when Dawid was bringing it into the land, Uzziyahu, he touched the Ark because they were carrying it not according to how it was supposed to be, and he died. It was kept with Obed Edom, a son of Louis, for a while, in which when Dawid heard that he was prospered for having it with him, he rejoiced, and they went and regathered it according to the instructions. And then when they did that, they offered offerings and they sang psalms at every point while going up. And so here we have the return where they're also rejoicing. This is the first wave where they actually have guards with Darius. They're being brought back with rejoicing. And then you'll see later on when Ezra is returning, they don't really have the same situation here. But right here, verse 5, it says, "The Kohanim, the sons of Phinehas, the son of Aharon, Yahushua," or they say Yeshua, the son of Yahuzadok, the son of Sariyahu, and Yahuakim, the son of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, of the house of Dawid, out of the kindred of Pharez, of the tribe of Yahuda, who spoke prudent sentences before Darius the sovereign of Persia in the 2nd year of his reign, in the month Nisan, or Abib, which is the 1st month. And these are they of Yahuda that came up from the captivity where they dwelt as strangers, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babylon, had carried away to Babylon. And this is a foreshadow of the children being carried away into the captivity in Mystery Babylon, and the return, which is something that Martin Luther actually wrote. One of the books that he wrote was Our Babylonian Captivity, which he was talking about current that they were living in their times. So it was a parallel to those events that would come later on. It says, "And they returned to Jerusalem and the other parts of Yahuda, every man to his own city, who came with Zerubbabel, with Yahushua, Nehemiah, and Zechariah, and Isaiah, Nemus, Mordecai, Beelsaris, Apharsaris, Elias, Romius, Baanah, their guides." I apologize if I butchered any of those. The number of them of the nation and their governors, the sons of Phoros or Pharaz, which, if you remember, Yahuda had two children from Tamar. The other children that he had from the woman who was a Canaanite were never part of the reign. None of them sat as sovereign over the people. And only the sons of Selah survived. And Onan both died before they had children, just for context there. But Tamar's children, you had Pharaz and Zerah. Zerah stuck his hand out first, who had the scarlet ribbon around his hand. And then it was Pharaz who was born first. There's a whole story behind that and where they happened, but it was Pharaz's children specifically that had the reign in the land. So it says 2,172. The sons of Shaphat, 472. The sons of Aris, 756. The sons of Paath Moab, 2,812. The sons of Elam, 1,254. The sons of Zethul, 945. The sons of Corbi, 705. The sons of Bani, 648. The sons of Bebai, 623. The sons of Sadas, 3,222. These always have more meaning if you actually know what all the names mean and the significance of what might be mentioned with the numbers. But specifically, and the entire context for every genealogy in Scripture is to follow and to track the genealogy of our Mashiach, because the Word made promises from the beginning, starting with Hua, that the seed of the woman would crush the head of the serpent. And then he kept that promise, and every additional promise on top of that, that it would come from the line, the sons of Adam, it would come from the seed of Abraham, from Yahuda and Louis, from the seed of Dawid specifically. And all of these things are tracked in the genealogies and then proven and fulfilled in the coming of our Mashiach. So after that time, the genealogies were no longer significant for the people, generally by and large, although it's still used for the monarchies of the world today to prove that they're of Yahuda for a variety of reasons, but that's because of promises established by his word. So it's the same thing. But even the things we see then parallel what we see now. And another thing about those anti-Mashiach videos for dummies, when you get to the videos about Revelation 12 and the founding of America, it parallels the coming out of Babylon as well, because when they went into captivity, they went in with sovereigns, but when they came out, they came back with governors. And it's the same true. They went into captivity and they went through the dark ages with sovereigns, but after the time of coming out of the captivity, we had what we call popular government. And the monarchies were done specifically in America, and then that caused the revolutions throughout Europe, where there was popular governments, and that was like the foreshadow of what it was the picture of when they came out of Babylon and they did not have a monarchy ruling, but it was still of the sons of Yahuda. That's why we can see that all the presidents are all related to the monarchies of Europe and keep getting voted in. It's not, there is a conspiracy. There are, in a conspiracy, if you look up the definition, it means a plan by two or more men with an evil intent. So there's absolutely a conspiracy, but that's not what we have to worry about. We have nothing against the truth. We should always base everything that we focus on what's written, just like he said to. Shaul says to not think beyond what's written, and it mentions very clearly in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 that all the words of Chokmah or wisdom were laid down by one shepherd, and they're profitable for man. But other things are wearying to the flesh to study. And it's the whole duty of a man to fear Elohim and guard his commands. That's what we're required to do. So when we keep his word in us and we focus on that, everything starts to make more sense. But to get back in here, again, the genealogy's focus for that time was to track the genealogy of our Mashiach specifically. So to continue with where we were, verse 14. The sons of Adonikam, 667. Oh, and by the way, Hugh, if you want to at any time, I don't mind if you have questions. The ladies as well. Anytime you wanted to ask a question, you can feel free to. Or at the end, we're gonna have question time, and we'll break down anything because we don't read that long. We leave an opening for that. That's when the ladies prefer. But if you'd like to, go ahead. Oh, you're still on mute, brother.
Yeah, got me. That's rare. Anyway, I was wondering what your reader is here, but I can tell it's the Foxit reader. I'm gonna buy this version myself. Sorry, that's not a biblical thing,
Oh, that's all right.
but I much prefer Foxit.
Yes, sir. I actually got this so I can edit all the PDFs I get. I'm going to edit to make the most accurate version I know of the scriptures so I can put it out there.
I think if you have Open Office, you can also edit PDFs.
Yes, sir. I take the PDFs onto here. There's a button. I don't know if you can see, but you can convert right up here, export. I can export it to Office or to different ones, and then I can work on it there, which I prefer because I can type with the Paleo Hebrew on his name and then have it convert back to the Foxit PDF to make it. And it just formats it the way it's in Microsoft. So it's very beneficial.
Right on.
This looks totally different than what we've been using.
I was reading from Microsoft on some of the stuff because I was working on the book of Gad from there. So I was just reading from Word. And then I transfer back over after I edit. All right. Sorry about that. No problem. Shalom. How are you? So if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask, but I'll go ahead and continue. We're on verse 15. It says,
is somebody else here?
I believe that was Hugh's wife.
Yes, there is. Yep.
Oh, I thought I heard a girl voice.
Hi.
Hi.
Don't be in the camera there, Kathy Rand.
I'm sitting away.
I can't see you guys anyway.
You can't?
Uh-uh.
Oh.
I could before, but now I can't.
Do you see her?
No. I can't see. All I can see is the PDF.
Shalom, Kathy.
Catherine.
It's Catherine.
You can call me Kat, but I don't like Kathy.
Sorry.
Okay, you didn't know.
Shabbat shalom, Catherine.
Shabbat shalom, Catherine.
Same to you.
I was telling these brothers and sisters about that noise that we heard in the watching the Antichrist for Dummies.
I can answer that. It's not really something that's in the video, but if you remember, whenever we're holding to something that isn't true, we're going to have jurisdiction by unclean spirits to mess with us, including thoughts in our own mind or however. The things they're allowed to do are in different writings. But when we hold to something that isn't accurate, our Creator in his loving kindness does not let us stay on what is true and honorable or upright in all of our ways. So he says things like the wrong name, and he says things about Ignatius and about the shepherd of Hermas without actually having the proof or the evidence of the writings being shown not to be accurate. So because of those things, error is allowed to creep in the mentality, the mocking there of these things to show them that it's not of him. If this is pointed out to them, like, I want to do that, I'm going to write to them. I'm going to talk about this stuff as in the best way I can, because I do think it's for our benefit if we can remove ourselves from everything that's evil. And so mistreating another, being disparaging, being a stumbling block to others is really not beneficial. But it happens just like it's explained in the recognitions of Clement with the Greek mythology. Clement goes through and discourses about a lot of the errant beliefs and practices just of the pagan mythology and the disgusting things that they do and that is believed about their own mighty ones. And then he asks why. Kefe explains very clearly that if there is anything noble in error, there would be some value to it, and then there would be a reason for men to keep holding on. But because it's base and disgusting, because there's nothing good in it, it's there so you can see that it's not of him and remove it from yourself. And that's the whole reason, that the entire point for any disgusting stuff and something that's otherwise excellent, it's because there's a mixture of truth, and so it has to be there. Sometimes it's more pronounced in other things, but I've always found that to be accurate. And it's anytime there's something there, I found this to be so. Even in things that I've shared when I was not thinking correctly, I've seen this manifest. That's why I'm talking about it. And I can share where it's mentioned in the recognitions and things like that because he's plainly written. But that's not to be judgmental. We're not supposed to judge outsiders, but we're supposed to critique the things of believers by his word. As we see, so we judge, and our judgment is true because we're not alone in it, but the word, the Father, in his word, is with us, and we have no power against the truth, right? So that's the same thing I was mentioning before. If we keep what our mind on the things that are written to comprehend how everything happens, that's how we can get comprehension for why these things happen and for a remedy, more importantly, a way to fix it, not only for others, but for ourselves too. All right, so to continue here, verse 15, the sons of Atarzia, my apologies, 92. The sons of Silan and Estaz, 67. The sons of Azuran, 432. The sons of Aniyah, 101. The sons of Aram, 32. And the sons of Basa, 323. The sons of Azuphareth, 102. The sons of Meturas, 3005. The sons of Bethlomon, 123. The sons of Netophah, 55. They of Anathoth, 158. If I'm remembering correctly, Anathoth is where Yirmiyahu had a deed of purchase that he had made and buried as a sign that they would return to the land. But I'm not certain about that. They of Bath Samos, 42. They of Corintheres, or Kirathiris, 25. They of Kephira and Beeroth, 743. They of Pyra, 700. They of Chadiah and Amiadoi, 422. They of Kirma and Gabades, 621. They of Macalon, 122. They of Betolius, 52. The sons of Naphis, 156. The sons of Calamolius and Onus, 725. The sons of Jerichus, 245. The sons of Annas, 3,330. The Kohanim, the sons of Yadiah, the sons of Yahushua, among the sons of Senasib, 972. The sons of Meruth, 1,052. The sons of Pashuron, 1,047. The sons of Carmi, 1,017. The Luiim, called Levites, and if you remember, that means joined unto me. The picture with the sons of Louis, just like the sons of Simon or Shimon, they were both scattered amongst the 12 tribes throughout the land. And that's a type and shadow of those that belong unto him and those that hear, believe, and do, like the servants, and then those that hear, they're scattered throughout the world. So that whenever you're looking at the things in the original covenant writings, you can see a type and picture of the things to come in the same way that you can see the patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob, in the things they walked out. Their children walked out in a larger scale later on. And this is true all the way up until the coming of our Mashiach and the consummation. Uh, it's a picture of what will happen in these times as well. So it's an amazing parallel thing. The more we see it, the more, Father willing, this will make sense. But that's the picture here with the Louis and Shimon. Whenever we're reading about that, you keep in mind they're the ones that are joined unto him, serving him like the overseers, the readers, the ministers, the elders, they call them, in that capacity. Right? So the sons of Yeshi and Kadmiel and Banias and Sudaias, 74. The Kodesh or set apart singers, the sons of Asaph, 128. The porters, the sons of Shalom, the sons of Yatel, the sons of Talmon, the sons of Dakobi, the sons of Teta, the sons of Samai, in all 139. The servants of the great tabernacle, the sons of Esau, the sons of Asiph, the sons of Teboeth, the sons of Creas, the sons of Sud, the sons of Phelah, the sons of Akua, the sons of Uta, the sons of Kitab, the sons of Agaba, the sons of Subai, the sons of Anan, the sons of Kathua, the sons of Gedur, the sons of Arias, the sons of Dyson, the sons of Noba, the sons of Chaseba, the sons of Gezerah, the sons of Izah, the sons of Phinehas, the sons of Azari, the sons of Batzai, the sons of Asanan, the sons of Menai, the sons of Nephasi, the sons of Akub, the sons of Asipha, the sons of Assyria, the sons of Pharakim, the sons of Basaloth, the sons of Meda, the sons of Kutha, the sons of Sherei, the sons of Sharkas, the sons of Aserar, the sons of Thomo, or Thomai, the sons of Nashith, the sons of Atifa, the sons of the servants of Shalomo, the sons of Asiphion, the sons of Ferari, or Ferara, the sons of Eli, the sons of Lozan, the sons of Yishrael, the sons of Sapheth, the sons of Haggiah, the sons of Therakereth, the sons of Sabai, the sons of Serothi, the sons of Messias, the sons of Gar, the sons of Adus, the sons of Suba, the sons of Aphira, the sons of Barodis, the sons of Sabat, the sons of Elohim. All the ministers of the tabernacle and the sons of the servants of Shalomo were 372. These came up from Thermalith and Therlersus, also from Charalathara, leading them, and Alar. And I really butchered that one. I apologize. Neither could they show their families nor their stock. So these men did not have their genealogies that they can prove, is what they're saying. All right. How they were of Yisrael, the sons of Ladan, the sons of Ban, the sons of Nekodan, 652. And of the Kohanim that usurped the office of the order of Kohanim and were not found, the sons of Obadiah, the sons of Akuz, the sons of Adus, who married Agua, one of the daughters of Barzillus, and was named after his name. And when the description of the kindred of these men was sought in the register and was not found, they were removed from executing the office of the order of Kohanim. For to them said Nehemiah and Athariah that they should not be partakers of the Kodesh or set apart things, till there arose up a high Kohen clothed with doctrine and truth. And right here, there's another witness. Ezra was mighty in the word, or he was mighty in the law, and he helped set up and reestablish how things were supposed to be done by the instructions. That was the whole point. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, it mentions that if there's a foreteller of, and the Kohen hears it and they say something that does not come to pass, and he's pronounced a false foreteller, the people of his city can, in his defense, say, well, he is a foreteller and he's spoken the truth. They can vouch for him. In which case, the Kohen is clothed with doctrine and truth, is supposed to go and consult the scriptures to find out what to do. And so it's the same thing. Someone who knows is supposed to help fix the problem. But if you don't know, we have to acknowledge that and then seek where we can get the remedy, which is from his word. All right, continuing on verse 41. This is so of Yisrael, from them were 12 years old and upward, which I don't know why they would number from 12 and up. Before then, from the Exodus on, it was always numbering the men 20 and above, and it was only the fighting men. After you turned 50, you were no longer numbered as part of the army or the registers of fighting men. Just so you know. This is so of Yisrael, from them of 12 years old and upward, they were all in number 40,000, beside men servants and women servants 2,360. Their men servants and handmaids were 7,347. The singing men and singing women 245. 435 camels, 7,036 horses, 245 mules, 5,525 beasts used to the yoke. And certain of the chiefs of their families, when they came to the great tabernacle of Yahuwah that is in Jerusalem, vowed to set up the house again in its own place according to their ability, and to give into the set apart treasury of the works 1,000 pounds of gold, 5,000 of silver, and 100 Kohanim's vestments. And so dwelt the Kohanim and the Leviim, or Levites, and the people in Jerusalem and in the country, the singers also and the porters, and all Yisrael in their villages. But when the 7th month was at hand, and when the children of Yisrael were in every man, and when the children of Yisrael were every man in his own place, they came all together with one consent into the open place of the first gate, which is toward the east. Then stood up Yahushua the son of Yahuzadok, and his brethren the Kohanim, and Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, and his brethren, and made ready the altar of Yahuwah of Yisrael, to offer burnt sacrifices upon it, according as it is expressly commanded in the book of Moshe, the man of Yahuwah. And there were gathered to them out of the other nations of the land, and they erected the altar upon his own place. Because all the nations of the land were at enmity with them and oppressed them. And they offered sacrifices according to the time, and burnt offerings to Yahuwah both morning and evening. The morning and evening offerings, if you remember, it says in the Psalms and it says in the renewed covenant that our offerings are the prayers of the set apart ones. It also says this clearly in the extra Psalms that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's two of them, I think, that mention that. But we're commanded as believers at this time in the renewed covenant to fellowship every morning and evening, to either meet at the house if you don't have a fellowship that's somewhere else with the body of believers, or if you're not able to stand yourself to give thanks. And just to recap for benefit of everyone, it mentions in the book of Psalms 7 times in a yom, or in the day, I will praise you. And it's actually enumerated in the Dead Sea Scrolls when those 7, and the apostolic constitutions, when those 7 times are. It's every change of state that has been caused and affected by our Creator Himself. So the first one is at the cock crowing, the going away of the stars, and the sign of the coming of the new Yom. But that actually is part of the previous day, or previous Yom, is that early morning light before the sunrise, is what they call it, right? The first one is at sunrise, right? Then you have the 3rd hour, the 6th hour, and the 9th hour, the 3 times where Daniel would pray. And that represents when he was convicted, when he was impaled, and when all the world was going crazy and he gave up his ruach and died. Those 3 times we're supposed to acknowledge as things that he's affected. And then you have sunset or evening. And then the last one is at the going away of the light, the last light, and the coming of the stars. So all those together is 7. You have cock crowing, sunrise, 3rd hour, 6th hour, 9th hour, sunset, and then last light. And those are the 7 times in a yom that a man is supposed to praise his maker. Right here, specifically in the morning and evening, it's mentioned in the apostolic constitutions, and the things that you're supposed to do when you gather together or say your prayers are actually mentioned in there. But we've already read that for one, and brother, if you want, we can talk about that some other time too. I was just wanting to mention, because here's another reference. The Kohanim would do this, and if you remember in the Besorah, believe it's the one with Luke, the people would gather together at the time of the offering of incense to give their prayers with the Kohanim. It's the same pattern. Those that were there would gather together that were of the believers. Not everyone did it, but those that were of believing would. And so the assembly likewise is to do the same. However, if we don't have anyone to fellowship, we in our own house stand and do these things too. But to continue real quick, it says in verse 51, also they held the Feast of Tabernacles, as it is commanded in the Torah, and offered sacrifices yom by yom, or daily, as was meet, or as was proper. And after that, the continual oblations and the sacrifice of the Sabbaths, and of the new months, and of the set apart feasts, and all they that had made any vow to Yahuwah began to offer sacrifices to Yahuwah on the first yom of the 7th month, although the great tabernacle of Yahuwah was not yet built. And they gave to the masons and carpenters money, meat, and drank with cheerfulness. To them of Zidon also and Tyre they gave them carriers, that they should bring cedar trees from Lebanon, which should be brought by floats to the haven of Jaffa, according as it was commanded them by Cyrus, the sovereign of the Persians. And in the 2nd year and 2nd month after his coming to the great tabernacle of Yahuwah at Jerusalem, began Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, and Yahushua the son of Yahuzadok, and their brethren, and the Kohanim, and the Luiim, and all that were come to Jerusalem out of the captivity. And they laid the foundation of the house of Yahuwah in the 1st yom of the 2nd month, in the 2nd year, and they were come to Yahudah and Jerusalem. Oh, that's rather interesting. And they appointed the Luiim, or the Levites, from 20 years old over the works of Yahuwah. Then stood up Yahshua, or Yahushua, and his sons and brethren, and Kadmiel his brother, and the sons of Medibun, with the sons of Yoda, the son of Elidun, with their sons and brethren, all Levites or Luiim, with one accord, settlers forward of the business, laboring to advance the works in the house of Yahuwah. So the workmen built the great tabernacle of Yahuwah. And the Kohanim stood arrayed in their vestments with musical instruments and shofars. And the Luiim, the sons of Asaph, had cymbals, singing songs of thanksgiving and praising Yahuwah, according as Dawid, the sovereign of Israel, had ordained. And they sang with loud voices songs to the praise of Yahuwah, because his loving kindness and majesty is forever in all Yisrael. And all the people sounded shofars and shouted with a loud voice, singing songs of thanksgiving to Yahuwah for the rearing up of the house of Yahuwah. Also of the Kohanim and Luiim, and of the chief of their families, the ancients who had seen the former house came to the building of this with weeping and great crying. But with shofars, my apologies. But many with shofars and joy shouted with loud voice, insomuch that the shofars might not be heard for the weeping of the people. Yet the multitude sounded marvelously, so that it was heard afar off. Wherefore, when the enemies of the tribe of Yahudah and Benjamin heard it, they came to know what that noise of the shofar should mean. And all the people sounded shofars and shouted with a loud voice, singing songs of thanksgiving to Yahuwah for the rearing up of the house of Yahuwah. Also of the Kohanim and Luiim, and of the chiefs of their families, the ancients who had seen the former house came to the building of this with weeping and great crying. But many with shofars and joy shouted with a loud voice, insomuch that the shofars might not be heard for the weeping of the people. Yet the multitude sounded marvelously, so that it was heard afar off. Wherefore, when the enemies of the tribe of Yahudah and Benjamin heard it, they came to know what that noise of shofars should mean. And they perceived that they that were of the captivity did build the great tabernacle to Yahuwah of Yisrael. So they went to Zerubbabel and Yahushua, and to the chief of the families, and said to them, we will build together with you. For we likewise, as you, do obey your Yahuwah, and do sacrifice to him from the
Excuse
Yami.
me, Richard,
Yes.
we can't see the text.
All right. Thank you for that. Just a moment. Let me pause. It says, "For we likewise, as you, do obey your Elohim or Yahuwah, and do sacrifice to him from the days of Asbazereth, the sovereign of the Assyrians who brought us here." And if, just for a recap, if you're not familiar, around the 7th century, 800 to 700 BC, the Assyrians, after being humbled by Dawid for a few hundred years, they were no longer a power. They rose to military prominence again, and because of the disobedience, the continual evil of the sovereigns and the people of the northern reign, the tribes of Yisrael, the 10 northern tribes in that kingdom, the Assyrians fought them, pillaged them, took them into captivity, and they transplanted and put in others in the land. So this is who they're alluding to here. Then Zerubbabel and Yahushua and the chief of the families of Israel said to them, "It is not for us and you to build together a house to Yahuwah our Elohim. We ourselves alone will build to Yahuwah of Israel, according as Cyrus the sovereign of the Persians has commanded us. But the heathen of the land, lying heavy upon the inhabitants of Yahudah and holding them straight, hindered their building. And by their secret plots and popular persuasions and commotions, they hindered the finishing of the building all the time that sovereign Cyrus lived. So they were hindered from building for the space of 2 years until the reign of Darius." All right, it's 12:26. Did you want to stop here and do some questions and look into what we read? It looks like chapter 6 goes on for about 30 verses. We might be able to finish it before the top of the hour if you want to do that one instead. I'll leave it up to you.
I'm good with doing 6 if everybody else is.
All right.
Me too.
All right, so we'll go ahead and read this one as well. "Now in the 2nd year of the reign of Darius Agius and Zechariah the son of Addo, the foretellers, foretold to the Hebrews in Yahudah and Jerusalem in the name of Yahuwah of Israel, which was upon them. Then stood Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel and Yahushua the son of Yahuzadok, and began to build the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem, the foretellers of Yahuwah being with them and helping them." And this would be Zechariah, is a book in Scripture, who he mentions that Yahushua, the son of Yahuzadok, is the man who represents the branch as a foreshadow of our Mashiach, who had the 7 eyes, which are the 7 Ruach, their spirits before the throne that go out into all the world. So that's just a time setting for these. They're all contemporary with each other. And the book of Zechariah would have been written around this time as well. So it says, "At the same time came to them Synesis, the governor of Syria and Phoenicia, with Sarabuzans and his companions, and said to them, By whose appointment do you build this house and this roof, and perform all the other things? And who are the workmen that perform these things? Nevertheless, the elders of the Yahudim obtained favor, because Yahuwah had visited the captivity." This word for visited is pakada, pei, kuf, dalit is the root word for that. And it's very similar. The word for visitation is very similar to the word for a judge or an overseer. The same exact word in the Hebrew that's translated into the Greek that's used throughout the renewed covenant writings for an overseer is the word that's used for a judge or someone who examines the people in the land in the old covenant writings, not the shofet, but the pikud. And they're specifically examining them and also expounding on them, exhorting them about what's going to happen when our Creator visits, because it's the Ruach or the Spirit that's in us that we're judged for at the time of His visitation. And all of those words are related and play a part with each other. It's something that I very recently learned, but if you look at the Hebrew, you look up the word for pakad or the word for visitation, and then the related word, you'll see what I'm talking about there. It says, and they were not hindered from building until such time as signification was given to Darius concerning them, and an answer received. The copy of the letters which Sisinus, governor of Syria and Phoenicia, and Sarath-Buzans, and their companions, the rulers in Syria and Phoenicia, wrote and sent to Darius, the sovereign Darius, or to sovereign Darius, greeting. Let all things be known to our ruler, the king. If you remember, I had mentioned before in the book called The Missing Links Found in the Assyrian Tablets, which is an archaeological records of the Assyrians that were discovered in Ashurbanipal, over 25,000 cuneiform tablets, lots of records. In those, they found the historical accounts of what happened with the 10 tribes in dispersion, a lot of their movings and what happened with the different groups of them as they split off and were put in different places outside of the land. And it's from those writings that you can track where the Scythians came from, which became known as the Germans that spread throughout Europe. It was the one group that stayed true to our Maker and went north into Ukraine to separate themselves and live in a land not inhabited so they can keep the law that they did not keep in the land. But that was just one group of the larger area of them spread throughout. It's in that book that you find that information, but it's also in that book where you see countless examples of the Assyrians writing to their sovereign, and they call him over and over again. It's translated the Lord, the King, or our Lord, the King, our Master, the King, our Master, the King. And so you can see it right here as well, that it's actually an authentic way that the Assyrians wrote to their monarchies at the time. At least in 721, and again around 200 years later, this is still being done by these people who were transplanted into the land. But to continue here, it says, let all things be known to our Master the Sovereign, that being come into the country of Yahuda and entered into the city of Jerusalem, we found in the city of Jerusalem the ancients of the Hebrews that were of the captivity, building a house to Yahuwah great and new, of hewn and costly stones, and the timber already laid upon the walls. And those works are done with great speed, and the work goes on prosperously in their hands, and with all splendor and diligence is it made. Then asked we these elders, saying, by whose commandment build you this house, and lay foundations, and lay the foundations of these works? Therefore, to the intent that we might give knowledge to you by writing, we demanded of them who were the chief doers, and we required of them the names in writing of their principal men. So they gave us this answer: we are the servants of Yahuwah, which made Shamayim and Eretz, or earth. And as for this house, it was built many years ago by a sovereign of Yisrael, great and strong, and was finished. But when our fathers provoked Yahuwah to wrath, and sinned against Yahuwah of Yisrael, which is in Shamayim, he gave them over into the power of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babylon, of the Kasdim. And remember, the word for Kasdim in Hebrew means to cough is to be like or to resemble, and Shadim is demons. So to be like and resemble demons is the people of Ur of the Kasdim. Verse 16, it says, who pulled down the house and burned it and carried away the people captives into Babylon. And in the first year that sovereign Cyrus reigned over the country of Babylon, Cyrus the sovereign wrote to build up this house and the set apart vessels of gold and of silver that Nebuchadnezzar had carried away out of the house at Jerusalem and had set them in his own temple. Those Cyrus the sovereign brought forth again out of the temple at Babylon, and they were delivered to Zerubbabel and to Sennabesaurus the ruler, with commandment that he should carry away the same vessels and put them in the great tabernacle at Jerusalem, and that the great tabernacle of Yahuwah should be built in his place. Then the same Sennabesaurus, being come hither, laid the foundations of the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem. And from that time to this, being still a building, it is not yet fully ended. Now therefore, if it seem Tob to the sovereign, let search be made among the records of sovereign Cyrus, and if it be found that the building of the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem has been done with the consent of sovereign Cyrus, and if our master the sovereign be so minded, let him signify to us thereof. Then commanded sovereign Darius to seek among the records at Babylon, and so at Ecbatana, the palace, which that Ecbatana is one of the capitals, one of the places that became a capital of the Parthian Empire, which it was after 390 years of captivity, the sons of Ephraim that were in captivity under the reign of the Seleucid Empire during the time of the Maccabees, when Antiochus Epiphanes was fighting with the Maccabees, and then he would go to the east to fight those that were causing seditions. He was fighting the uprising of the people who were rebelling against the Seleucids' reign there, and the Parthian Empire was founded with the overthrow of the Seleucids, and that was actually some of the children of the 12 tribes. Not all of them, but foreshadowed. If you remember, they were named in Yahusuf, which was split into two. You had Ephraim and Manasseh. Manasseh was the great nation, right? And then Ephraim was the nation and a company of nations. And that same pattern is played out over in a larger scale as you go on through time as well. But just for context there, this is in the land of the Medes, what we call Madai, and what we call Iran today. So it says, and so at Ecbatana, the palace, which is in the country of Madai, there you go, sorry, there was found a roll wherein these things were recorded. In the first year of the reign of Cyrus, sovereign Cyrus commanded that the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem should be built again, where they do sacrifice with continual fire, whose height shall be 60 cubits, and whose breadth 60 cubits, with 3 rows of hewn stones, and 1 row of new wood of that country, and the expenses thereof to be given out of the house of sovereign Cyrus. Or as they say in scripture, it was Koresh, which is to be like the head, or the rosh, the head, right? And that the set apart vessels of the house of Yahuwah, both of gold and silver, that Nebuchadnezzar took out of the house at Jerusalem and brought to Babylon, should be restored to the house at Jerusalem and be set in place where they were before. If you recall last time, ladies, we had mentioned the type of the vessels being taken to captivity, into confusion, and then being brought back unmolested and entire is a picture of his chosen vessels, those that separate themselves from the earthly or the works and the minds of the flesh. They become a vessel unto value in scripture. And it's an allusion to those that if you're a vessel of value, you will be kept entire, you will be taken and brought back in his dwelling when it's restored. That's the promise we can get from here. Another way of looking at that that I just recently was reminded of was in the garment of our Mashiach. When it mentions in Psalm 133 how tov and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity, like precious oil on the head, running down the beard of Aaron or Aharon, running down onto the collar of his robes. That's a parable of his assembly being in one accord, with one mind, one opinion, where the oil from on high is poured down onto our head, and from there onto the beard, which is the word for elders. Zakanim, the bearded ones, are the elders in Hebrew. It's a synonymous term. So from our Mashiach onto the elders, and then onto his body, which is that robe that had no seam and was not torn. It was kept entire. They did not divvy it up, and it was cast lots for who would have possession. That's another allusion here of his assembly. For an excellent exposition on that, you can look up Hippolytus and his dissertation on the anti-Mashiach, on Mashiach and anti-Mashiach. He goes into that parable before he gets into that, and it's really amazing. But here, to finish this really quickly, it says, and also he commanded that Sisinus, the governor of Syria and Phoenicia, and Sartharar-Buzans, and their companions, and those which were appointed rulers in Syria and Phoenicia, should be careful not to meddle with the place, but suffer Zerubbabel, the servant of Yahuwah, and governor of Yahuda, and the elders of the Yahudim, to build the house of Yahuwah in that place. I have commanded also to have it built up whole again, and that they look diligently to help those that be of the captivity of the Yahudim, till the house of Yahuwah is finished. And out of the tribute of Syria and Phoenicia, a portion carefully to be given these men for the sacrifices of Yahuwah, that is, to Zerubbabel the governor, for bullocks and rams and lambs, and also corn, salt, wine, and oil, and that continually every year without further question, according as the Kohanim that be in Jerusalem shall signify to be spent yom by yom, or daily spent. That offerings may be made to the Most High Yahuwah for the sovereign and for his children, and that they may pray for their inner beings or existences. And he commanded that whosoever should transgress, yes, or make light of anything before spoken or written, out of his own house should be a tree be taken, and he thereon be hanged, and all his goods seized for the sovereign. Oh wow. If you're familiar with how the captivity and the planting of the woman and how that mentions it's fulfilled, this stuff is all playing a part of what we're supposed to be doing. His house is going to be rebuilt in America here. This is an allusion to that. I need to look more into it, but these things are pretty amazing. Uh, the parallels between what happened and what is happening in our country. So it's pretty awesome. Uh, let's finish this. We got 2 more verses. It says, Yahuwah, therefore, whose name is there called upon, which, if you remember his name, Yod He Wah He, means he who causes it to be, he who is, who was, and who is to come. And it's all inherent in the word, Yahuwah. So it says, Yahuwah, therefore, whose name is there called upon, utterly destroyed every sovereign and nation that stretches out his hand to hinder or in damage that house of Yahuwah in Jerusalem. Darius the sovereign have ordained that according to these things it be done with diligence. Wow. All right, so there's still a lot more to look into for that, but that is a pretty interesting parallel. We'll have to look into more at some other time. Anyways, with that, thank you for allowing me to read, and we'll continue on with chapter 7 next Shabbat. But before we stop the recording, is there any comments or questions that you would like to make about that? Anything you'd like to share as well?
Did you see Catherine had a question?
I'm looking right now. Catherine wants to know what the scripture was for oil on the head. Ah, the Psalm 133 mentions that oil, and the word in there is shemen. It's like the word for name, but with a noon. Shemen. So it's like his name imparted, or the action of doing it. Noon is like the living one, or a fish moving in the water. It's representative of the moon's constantly gaining illumination or losing illumination kind of thing. So it's the idea of life or constant motion, action. And when you have his name in action, it's the oil, the shemen, in the lamps of the wise or prudent virgins. And it's the piety of it's called the oil of piety. Basically, you don't just hear his words, but you're a doer of them. And you're not a foolish virgin, but a prudent one. It says, your name is oil poured forth, therefore the maidens love you. And again, his name, Shem, has to do with the oil because he is the one who causes things to be. He's the one that makes it happen. So what he said was, if you hear and do, he's gonna turn things around, pour out his benefits, and he will accomplish what he said. But we actually have to be like those prudent virgins and have the oil in our lamp, so that our light can shine.
Love it.
Speak up.
I love that one. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's in the Proverbs too, where it says you're in Ecclesiastics, Kohelet in Scripture. It mentions that your name is like oil poured forth, therefore the maidens love you. It might be the Song of Solomon, Song of Shlomo, and then in the Proverbs it says, um, a name is like precious oil. There's other allusions right there as well. And then Psalm 133 talks about the oil being poured out, um, in the ideal of the assembly, as shown in the picture of the oil poured on the head of Aaron. And then the explanation for the prudent virgins is in the apostolic constitutions. Actually, I'll share it right now. There's a section in there that's specifically mentioned that it's worth thinking on Shabbat. And I usually share it every week on Facebook, but I'll share it and tag you. In there, it explains, I believe that's where it says it, explains the parable of the prudent virgins as the ones that have the oil, which is piety. And when you look up what piety means, essentially it's a dutifulness, or consciously, willingly doing what it is your duty to do.
And that's what it means to have oil in your lamp?
Yes, the wise virgins, or the Hakan, the prudent virgins, are the ones that have the oil. And if you're prudent, there's no way to have chokmah or comprehension unless you're doing what he said, because he is comprehension and he's with those who obey him.
I've always thought that that's what it meant to have oil in your lamps, but I've had a lot of people disagree with that.
Well, that's the tie-in right there, is with it's explained in the apostolic constitutions, and then when you look at the words themselves, shemin, and where that's mentioned in scripture, like I was just pointing out, you check those out, and it talks about his name and doing what he said. His name and doing what he said. It's all about the truth. And when you look at what his name means, it means what is, he who causes it to be. Actually, that we can finish that real quick. There's a section in the book of Gad. I don't know if I have it on the computer anymore, the whole thing, but there's a there's one chapter in the book of Gad where Dawid is in his older years, and he's talking to the congregation. He's given the words from our Mashiach to go speak to the people. And it's like one of his last exhortations to them. before before he died.
Hey, I had a question, Richard.
Yes.
Did you have a hard time finding Catherine on the Facebook?
I found when I looked her up, there was a whole bunch of Catherines. I saw her picture, but I didn't know which one was specifically her.
I had the same problem when I created this new profile. I'm looking for my wife, and it's like 100 of them.
Yeah.
You know, thousands.
Yeah, I had the same issue there. Let me see if I can't. Um, Here, I'll just read this to you real quick. This is from the book of Gad the Seer. And if you want, Hugh, I can share this with you in an email. It's password protected, but the book's really good. This is from chapter 8. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read to you the part where it's prevalent to what I'm saying. It says, Yahuwah put his words in his mouth. Then Dawid assembled all Yisrael in Jerusalem, and he made to himself a pulpit of wood and stood upon it before all the people. And he opened his mouth and said, Shema Yisrael, or hear Yisrael, your Elohim and my Elohim is one, the only one and unique, and there is no one like his individuality. Hidden from all, he was and is and will be. He fills his place, and his place doesn't fill him. He sees but is not seen. He tells and knows futures, for he is Elohim without end, and there is no end to his end. Omnipotent, El of truth, whole worlds are full of his esteem, meaning this world and the world to come. And he gave each one free choice. If one wants to do good or tob, he will be helped. And if one wants to do evil, a path will be opened for him. For that we will worship our Elohim, our sovereign, our Yahuwah, our Savior, with love and awe. For your chokmah is the fear of Yahuwah, and your cleverness is to depart from evil. Remember and obey the law of Moshe, the man of Elohim, that it may be well with you all the yamim, or days. Ask the fathers or your fathers, and they will declare unto you, your elders, and they will tell you. Be strong and valiant to obey the law and not to hear it only. For a deed is like a root, hearing it is like a seed. A belief is like a tree, and the fruit is like righteousness. And what shall we do to a smelly and stinky seed if a root will not come out of it? For that, hurry up, be quick, and act. Hear and act, for you are a true seed. For you have belief and righteousness, and Yahuwah will barak you all in shalom. Talk shalomful each one with another, and love the deed and those created in the image of Yahuwah like your own inner beings. For if you love the creation, it is a sign that you love the Creator. And also, you should take hold of the one, yea, also from the other withdraw not your hand. Love Yahuwah and also man, that it shall be well with you all the yamim. All right, and then it goes on, he gives the prayer, but that was the intent. He knew back then, and it was declared at that time, right before the millennial reign foreshadow of the reign of Shalomo. They have to hear and do, and then the benefits will come. So it's the same picture for us. But thank you for allowing me to share that. Was there any other questions or comments before we stop the recording? All right. Well, with that, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And Father willing, we'll see you next Shabbat. Thank you.